Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome back to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as YouTube, and we're up on Spotify. I was thinking of the paraphrasing of Freud's theory that before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you are not surrounded by
assholes.
Yep.
I think that's a FAA approved.
FCC.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, Freud said it should be.
Well, see, there you go. You can't hold me accountable. I don't even know what company it is. FCC, FAA.
FAA is
It's an ABC. It's an ABC one.
DIT, ABC.
DOT.
One of those. Some acronym.
POT. CAT. I just want to have fun. Sun's out. I'm with my bestie. I was telling somebody, we were talking on TikTok. He just was commenting. So we're going back and forth. And he's like, "So how was your day?" And I said, "My day's been great." I said, "I got up this morning, had my coffee, went rollerblading with my bestie." And I said, "And now we're on the golf course." And he's like, "What? How old are you?"
How old are you?
12.
I was on the rail trail and someone ran by me and then stopped and was like, "Hey, good job being on roller skates. I don't think I've seen those in like 40 years. I said, "Well, you've seen rollerblades." He goes, "I haven't seen four wheels." I said, "Yeah, right. I can't do the rollerblade. I'll just kill myself."
Well, what's funny is you don't really see roller skates out on like their
pavement.
You think about indoor, but maybe in California, I always think about that strip, around the
Laguna
beach.
Beach.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm probably thinking like maybe there's four wheels over there.
Yeah,
like,
I definitely think so.
Well, they're all. Rollerblades are four wheels too, right?
Yeah, but they're inline.
Yeah, inline
too. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. And then there were little kids who were rollerblading, and they were like, "Hi," because they saw me as a friend right away.
Yes,
they were waving to me.
Connection.
As they put
connection.
We have something
like so.
In common.
Sign language is this for connection,
okay.
And so my kids used to do it a lot. So like, when kids they look for something that's similar. Like, oh, I see a likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're always looking for a likeness.
I think we should always look for likeness because we are more alike than we are dissimilar.
Yes.
But I
think it's our experiences that separate us. And actually how we handle them is what separates us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To go to your question about where I see forgiveness in the mental health world, I think it's very difficult for long-term mental health and stability if you are angry at yourself.
Yes.
So
if you don't love yourself,
if you don't forgive yourself, we're always making mistakes. We're always doing something wrong. And so aren't all the people around us. And, we obviously hope there's degrees.
Always be a beginner. I love that thing that it was such the easiest thing that you said to me is like, I don't ever be an expert at anything. Always be a beginner. Mm-hmm. Even on all of your experiences.
Because then you could have more patience with yourself because you're not an expert. The minute you become an expert, now you have this obligation to have all the answers.
Right.
When, I don't know, maybe we have less and less answers.
I think the more that I do.
Because I sometimes feel like I knew more at 22 than I know now. Like in my head, I knew, like
yeah.
It's a
hard yes.
It's a hard
yes, a hard no.
Yeah.
It's very black and white.
And it's only with more life and more time and more experiences that I'm like, oh, maybe more gray.
I also think more healing happens. I think the more that you can look at in healing yourself, your traumas, the things that are you're talking about healing, like finding out what your trigger points are, what makes you angry, what makes you sad, what makes you feel loved, like finding these things out about yourself in creating your environment around that.
And that's where I was going to get into support systems, kind of using the Freud saying as if you don't have a great support system, it is going to be very difficult for you to feel like you have a lot of mental stability.
Yeah.
If we were in last week's environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can bet I'm unstable real quick.
I tell you what, I probably wouldn't have made it the whole week. I don't, especially where I am now in my life. Like, no, you let go of low vibration people. And all the energies that are low vibration is anger. I think I have them written down somewhere, but it's all the negative emotions. Those are all low vibrating things. You think about when you see somebody, even in a restaurant, you see a couple, they're laughing and they're having a good time at dinner and you're watching them. But when you're watching people be happy, don't you feel something inside of you? Like it makes you curious. It does actually make you lighter feeling inside, whether you acknowledge it or not. But when you're also when you're around angry people, it's kind of like you're holding your breath, or you're clenching your teeth, or you're like,
It's very easy to fight. If you're with a couple who's in an argument and you're on a double date, it's very easy and quick to get into an argument when you're around a couple that's arguing.
Yes.
Or a couple that's complaining.
It's uncomfortable. And
you match. You can match it. So if
we are putting out feelers. We're these huge receptors for our environment. And we're always taking information in through our senses, through our feelings. That perfect example is when you're around an angry person, or you're around somebody that's arguing, or your boss is miserable, blah blah blah. It makes your blood pressure goes up. You're tense. The next thing you know, that you're barking at somebody else, and so
moods are contagious.
Somebody is not,
And I do think back to the forgiveness piece. It is, I think, probably easier to forgive others before we forgive ourselves.
Yes. But why do you think that is? Why do you think it's hard for us to forgive ourselves?
For me, a lot of it was I knew better. So why did I do something when I knew better? Like, even getting triggered over the thing, I got mad that I let myself get emotionally swept up in it. When you know better, shouldn't you be doing better? Know better and do better, to your point. And when you don't, it's like, oh, well, then now I'm...
Well, but so you take the minute, like you definitely, when it took me a couple of days too, it took me I was texting you, I was screenshotting and texting you. And then I'm like, I was going to send the last one. And I'm like, no, it's like 10 o'clock. I'm not going to, I'm not going to land this on her at 10 o'clock at night. Like, I don't want her to carry these feelings, but just
to not sleep.
Being able to sit in it for a little bit. And I'm just like, you know what? It's not that important. So it took me a couple of days. And I was pretty proud of myself, because I did give a lot of scenarios to Chris, like, hey, I could say this, or I could do this, I could do this. And I'm like, ooh, you do not want to fight me. Because I want to say this. I want to say this. And I'm like, if I came out of the box and said this, he wouldn't have an argument. And he's like, don't.
Well,
But I'm like, that was my process of letting it go. And like, so mine comes out in sarcasm, and I don't have to respond. I didn't have to respond. I'm still not going to respond, because I'm handling it a very different way. But it was I forgot the phrase I was going to use about letting it go. Well, I didn't want to put it on you. Oh, the process is, it took me a little bit of time to realize, all right, well, maybe this is happening for you. Maybe there's something that's coming on the horizon. So started looking at that, and then I let all the other stuff go. I mean, of course, could it trigger me? Yes. But I don't feel like I'm carrying it in my body the same way. So I think the faster we can get to, okay, I think grace is essential, to have grace with ourselves. And that allows us to help us forgive ourselves more. Because, hey, okay, that one triggered me.
I think love is forgiveness.
Yes.
So how well you can forgive yourself, I think, goes along with how well you can love yourself.
Well, and I think grace and not beat yourself up like, oh, I fumbled, you know, that triggered me. But the fact that you can get closer and closer, or you're finding out what triggered you and why it triggered you faster and faster. So it's giving the grace to be like, okay, all right, it's my bumper. So, all right, the universe just gave me some kind of resistance. What does that mean? Instead of saying, okay, you know, how it showed up, whether it showed up in somebody mouthy or whether it showed up in somebody rude or it showed up, however it showed up, it showed up. I need to separate my emotions from their emotions.
Yes. Yes.
And that's giving myself grace. Like, hey, I fell into that for a second. But it's also being able just to allow those feelings to just move through you.
And not get caught up inside.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that is grace and that is forgiveness. Because we're not going to get we're not. I think when we as humans become perfect,
it's like a death in itself.
well, then it's the end. What else is there?
But I think it's a death because perfection doesn't really exist. A lot of
Right.
things don't exist in
Right.
perfection. I mean, a flower might be perfect, a bee might be perfect, and in some regards, we are perfect.
Yes. Yes.
But the act of living a life is not perfect. And
So-
if you are perfect, you are coloring so within the lines,
Yeah.
and they're probably somebody else's lines.
Yes.
That you're not
your-
really living your
right.
life at all.
Right.
And to not live your life is going to be a regret at some point, whether you're 20 or 30 or 50 or 70 or on your deathbed. There will be that point where you have squandered the opportunity.
Mm.
And I think that's one term I'm trying to use repeatedly because it's the one that doesn't get me so outcome oriented.
Mm.
Because I'm a very outcome
Yes.
expectation person.
Yeah.
I have expectations and I have outcomes, or why am I doing this? Why am I putting my energy and effort and money and time towards this if I don't have an outcome? So, and then if
you're
it doesn't
so-
show up on a Tuesday at 3 the way I planned, melts down,
Yeah. Oh my God, we're so similar.
tantrum.
So I told you the other day that I got these cute little lamp stands, the little solar lamp stands. So today when I leave here, I'm going to run over and see if I can get one more because I got one yesterday. So I need 4. But so last night we were outside and we were enjoying the pool lights and stuff. And we just got our pool pump put in. And it was last Thursday after, after a little snafu thing, our hiccup, and then I was just in a bad mood. So I'm like, I'm going to go. I need to get some plants in the ground. I need to dig in the dirt. I just want to be outside. I want to do some nice stuff. So I got all my lights out. I got the plants. I got colors around the pool. I'm putting out the pillows, and I'm like, I know I'm nesting, and I'm creating my safe space. And the pool cover was still on, and trying not to be a nag, but I had to ask every day. And he'd said, if we go golfing today, then I'll open the pool tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, that's been a week. So I'm like, hey, do you think today could be the day to open the pool? And he's like, my back hurts and it's too heavy and I don't do this. And the guy, and he said, I'll reach out to the guys when the pool filter's coming. And the guy said he could probably squeeze us in a couple of weeks. And I was like, I texted him back and I was like, I just feel like crying. So when I asked, when he got home and he started taking the pool cover off, he's pulling it off. And I'm like, do you need some help? We get it all off and start filling it up. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And he's like, well, I didn't want you to cry. And so then I started doing all my planting and all that stuff and getting everything ready, and the umbrellas out and the solar lights out. And I've been teasing him for a while that I saw those lights, the pool lights that go around the edge.
Yeah.
So I've been saying, he's like, do you know how much electricity is going to be do this and blah? You know, I don't know how you're going to run electricity to that, and how are you going to wire it? You're going to have to tear up concrete, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know. I am the visionary. You're the integrator. And he's like,
And
Anyway,
he's like, aren't I the visionary?
so it's pouring down rain. Yes, he is a visionary, but he doesn't want to be an integrator. And I'm like, but you need to be my integrator.
we can't both be visionaries.
We partnered this way. You knew that.
You agreed.
And he's like, not really.
I was just saying that so I could get you into bed.
It's pouring down rain, the guy. So he gets the guy to come and install the new pool pump. It is pouring down rain. And I run out there and I'm like, hey, I have a quick question for you. If you do those tape rope lights around the pool, how do you do the electricity? Do you have to cut the concrete? He's like, no. You see these channels right there? You could just pull them up, and if the wires are small enough, you guys have got tons of electricity out here, because each lamppost has electricity, but it also has a plug that you wanted to. Anyway, so last night we're sitting out there and enjoying the lights and stuff, and I was like, oh, what would be perfect right now are the pool lights. And he's like, man, he's like, you are always pushing the needle forward. We just got the pump. We just got this. And he's like, that's what I love about you, girl.
Yeah.
You never rest.
Yes.
You always push. So that was funny. I was laughing because, yes, you were always pushing the needle forward.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like I think about this all the time when people say, just let it be. Whatever happens, happens. I still cannot get my head around whatever happens, happens, because I can't be a directionless, rudderless boat, because I'm going to be crashed up against rocks on a side of a craggy island near Scotland.
So what I learned about that is just don't be attached to the outcome. So you should always be steering your boat. Your boat is your life, is your journey. It's your journey. You should always be steering. But like if you get shipwrecked, that's probably a bad analogy.
No, because the boat is going to go up against
Well, I'm
the
just
rocks.
saying, say you end up in the French Riviera instead of Spain.
Right.
It ain't the worst thing.
Right. But what happens if you end up crashed up against the rock near Craggy Island?
But if you're still alive, then there's an opportunity.
Yes.
There's something.
And so that's why I was saying, I think if I use the word opportunity,
yeah,
an opportunity is an unknown thing. It's just by definition, it's the opportunity for something new,
right,
or something different, or it's where that's not an expectation to me. So I'm trying to use the word opportunity, like what if I looked at this as an opportunity instead of an ending? What if I looked at it as a beginning instead of an ending?
Yeah. All right, but think about life like that. Say you are So this would be a good question for Nick when he comes on. Mm-hmm. So what if we were born like water? So I'm going to use the analogy, when they say be like water, and the stone is what if the stone is the resistance? We always think about the stone as being an immovable object, but you might not be able to move it, but you can flow around it. And so what if we were born in flow? And you're listening to your instincts. As a baby, you cry when you're hungry. As a toddler, we do things, and it's our parents and stuff that have put the bumpers and guidance. But if you ever watch just a kid just be a kid, like I watched my son, he's like 5 or 6, and they're outside playing in the yard, and I had gone in to get a snack, and we're going to have a little picnic, and I'm watching them through the kitchen window, and he is just like shrieking and dancing around the yard, like just with abandon. He's just being in energy. And so what if we are all born as in flow, as water, and life and circumstances become boulders, and we don't know how to navigate it. It changes our direction. So it is kind of like the shipwreck. Mm-hmm. And if we always realize that our truest, what if our highest form of ourself was to be able to live in flow? What if that's
I'm
part
doing
of
a terrible job?
Well,
that's what it is.
Me too. But what I'm saying is, when our ship crashes against the rocks, we've hit a resistance. We've hit a boulder. Mm-hmm. It's not the so looking for opportunity. Say thinking our boulders or our our hurdles, our challenges to overcome, our
Yeah.
opportunities.
I think some of my best problem solving comes out of being told no when I don't want to be told no.
Yeah.
So the part of my brain that like, I don't like that answer, whatever that answer is, I don't like it. So now I'm going to not sleep for 3 days and problem solve myself around.
Well,
this
you know me, I don't
no.
believe in the word no. I
Right.
will go around you.
Right.
I don't. I think my body just says that when I hear no. That's where I'm like, okay.
The
When
other
you
day-
know when I say okay, that means I'm going around you.
Yeah.
I've received your feedback.
Yes. And
I have received your input.
yeah. So I think if you are not, so I thought about this in relation to my mother. So Hari, I'm going to give me a second. He wrote a book. You know how I love my books.
My book.
And my authors, Hari Johansson, is that how you say his name? I follow him on Instagram, so give me 1 second. I'm going to look him up. He wrote a book, and he said all addiction is, try to spell Johansson's really funny too. I'm like, is it an H? Is
Google.
it is all addiction stems from not feeling fulfilled and having a purpose in
Yeah.
some regard.
Yeah.
It's almost like your existential crisis.
Mm.
So our mind and our bodies have addictive tendencies, probably for a reason. Back before we had technology or potato chips, we needed to habituate to such a point that there was no energy in doing what we needed to do.
I listened to a podcast about this, but we create habits. We create habits, and it's part of our brain function of like memory. So we don't have to spend so much energy thinking about every day, okay, how do I make a cup of coffee? So like having to relearn, how do I make a cup of coffee? How do I make food? So
And it's Johan Hari is the name of the gentleman. Okay.
our bodies things to do things to create habits to make our life more simple. So we don't have to relearn and redo these
Yeah,
and
we don't
spend
have to
that
expend the energy.
spend that brain energy on
Mm-hmm.
doing something.
But that's also where addiction comes in.
Yes.
Not having any brain energy. How many times did you pick up your phone yesterday, which is a habit that has been created, and all of the behavioral science and the behavioral psychology has built in the equivalent of gambling or addictive behavior rewards for using technology. So you are rewarding the brain's baseline system. So you get dopamine not when the good thing happens. You get the dopamine going for the good thing that happens.
Right.
So because you need to be rewarded for the struggle to catch the animal, the struggle to find the water, the struggle to find shelter. So you actually build dopamine, the dopamine's in the doing up to that
Yeah.
point. Long term is serotonin. So going on social media, you get dopamine because you're hearting and liking, and most people don't heart or like, but they're scrolling. There is that dopaminic urgency
Well, it is a
to do the
dopamine
same
rush
thing.
because in good marketing gives you that.
So if we have these tendencies and now someone is abusing them, and this gentleman, Johan Hari, he wrote a book and positing that all drug addiction was just like misplaced.
Well, it's filling a need. It's filling a comfort. It's a comfort.
Or a coping.
Yeah, it's a coping.
And look at
Whether
my
it's to numb out, whether it's to relax you, or
yeah, numbing out is a part of it.
Yeah.
I feel bad and I'm trying to numb out. Chasing the Scream, the search for and the truth about addictions. And I'm reading this from one of his posts. This book is a New York Times bestseller. It's called Chasing the Scream. And he says that he's most proud of the book and the honest answer about the war on drugs and addiction. And it's not his latest books, it's one of his first books. And if I can find that one phrase, because I'm not doing justice to the succinct way that he spoke about it, but what it made me think about was my mother. My mother's a very smart woman, didn't really want children. That wasn't one of her urges. Like, she didn't have the desire to be a mom. She hated home ec class in high school. So in high school, they had typing, home ec, because you weren't going to go to college, so you needed some skill. Were you going to go cook somewhere? Were you going to be and she would burn everything in home ec. So being a wife and an old-fashioned mother where she was going to have to cook and, do all of that, not in her wheelhouse. She was Mensa smart.
Yeah.
So she worked at MIT as a typist and got brought into the program to do all the data entry for all the scientists that put the first man in space.
It's pretty impressive.
So she was around that environment all day, right? Part of this.
And I'm sure there's like an adrenaline rush for her.
Yes.
And then having to come home and that was her element.
So she
That
did
was
that.
where-
Then she
yeah.
got pregnant, stayed home, and became an electrolysis, which meant she plucked people's hair from their pubic areas and their upper lips,
She
armpits,
taking that resentment out every day.
one hair at a time.
Pulling hair
One
out.
resentment at a time. But I could always see, because I used to want to talk about that time that she was at MIT and doing all of that really interesting work. To me, that was fascinating.
Yeah.
And she always dismissed it. It was always my father who would come from the other room and hear me banging away with questions and him starting to answer to elicit her to open up. And at the time, I didn't think about it. But now as an adult, when something's really painful, you don't want to talk about it. I was a kid and I was her kid, so I was interested.
Yeah.
But, here she had this very exciting, it was exciting. Every monumental step that they made was solving a problem. It's like when they're putting people on Mars and
she's
stuff.
doing major stuff in the world. Like as a kid, seeing like my mom's doing stuff with the moon.
Right. What do you mean you put, because
Yeah.
I found out, she didn't even tell me, I found out because in the stacks of photos, I used to look through photograph albums because I would want to know, like that's how I would get stories out. And I found a 9x12 envelope with pictures of the moon from space.
Yeah.
And I was
that's
like, they
awesome.
were actual photographs, and they were given to everyone who worked in the program. And it's no big deal to see it now because we've all seen it a million times. But when you're 5 and it's all you have is the TV and no internet and you're seeing these pictures, it was huge.
Yeah.
And so when I think about, okay, now you have this very boring, mundane, monotonous life where you don't do anything interesting. Nothing is expected. The only thing that's expected of you is the thing you don't want. And you just try to numb down the part of you that's telling you you want more.
Yeah.
You want more. You deserve more. Go get more. But it's at odds with your current reality. So now I'm going to say, okay, that can be a depression.
Yes. Yes. So what was his quote? Do you have, what was his quote again?
Oh.
Because you said something and it reminded me, and because I wrote it down and I wanted to speak on it, but I wanted to, what was the quote?
Let's see. I might not find it again.
I want to say
Quickly.
Johan
Hari. And I apologize. I should have kept it up. I'm sorry.
So what? Anyway, so what it was making me.
Well, this
thinking
is
about-
interesting. Punishment: shaming a person, caging a person, making them unemployable, traps them in addiction. Taking the money and spending it instead on helping them get jobs, homes, and decent lives makes it possible for anyone to stop addiction.
So I'm not sure what part of the conversation, but we've talked about this before. There's as a kid growing up, I always thought joy and suffering, and we're all going to suffer. Like we experience suffering every day to some degrees. And what I always thought was like, oh, you should be happy the fact that you're suffering. as an older woman now, thinking what it shows to me is finding joy, finding the good, even while you're going through something bad. Even while you're suffering, there's still beauty out there. There's still joy. It's one aspect of your life. It's one piece. It's one
And you
piece.
can hold both simultaneously.
Yes.
Or practice. It becomes a practice.
Yes. So I'm like, you lost your job and your months. So there's a great stress about like, how am I going to provide? How am I going to do this? But also taking the time to find joy in the beauty in your life that's happening right now. Because just as much as there's suffering in your life right now, there's just as much joy. And it might be harder to see, but it's there. That's where I look at like the hummingbird coming up to, starting to look at being open to receive opportunities and to receive gifts, looking for it. When you find that the more that you start looking for the joy in your suffering, like where else is there? Okay, well, this is a boo-boo. So, I just scratched my knee, but the rest of my body doesn't have any scabs or scars in it. So, you know what? I'm going to focus on, other parts. That's just one little spot. That's one little spot, a boo-boo.
And I think that's why I always gravitate towards laughter, because the friends that have been the friends the longest in my life are the ones where I can call and bleed out the problem, but in there we're laughing.
Yeah.
Almost at like the ridiculousness of how horrible this is.
Yeah.
And it's that laugh cry piece that's like, is your life a tragedy or a comedy?
Yes. It's kind of like going down to Florida at your condo and there's sand
hurricane.
and it literally looks like the Walking Dead scene,
Yeah.
a set. And we're like, hey, at least we got the place to ourselves.
Right. And I'm like, come to the hurricane. We'll have fun. Like, who says that?
Right.
Who says that?
All right.
And now I got to think of 6 ways to make this hurricane fun.
She's like, we leave in an hour and I got nonstop. Okay. I can't say no. Those are my two.
Yeah, but and I think I have used laughter my whole life. And that's probably why my humor is pretty dark.
Yeah, that's why. Chris and I got in a conversation the other day, and I said to him, we were talking about quotes in conversation. I said, one of my favorite sayings is, I'm so sorry I bumped into your comfort zone. And he's like, that's so rude. And he's like, who made that up? I'm like, that's me. I did that. And he's like, that's so rude. I said, but I think I use humor and sarcasm. I've always used that as a defense mechanism or a protective mechanism. So how I process it or how I can receive the information is turn it around. But what it actually means is, to me, the more that I'm self-aware, I know that your comfort zone I just bumped into your comfort zone because I couldn't have that level of awareness with you if I didn't have it in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just reminding me, it just reminds me about expansion, about a growth, and you're going to meet opposition and you're going to meet some friction. It doesn't mean I have to carry it.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking back to loneliness and addiction. I think being lonely, which is something that has cropped up outside of COVID to such an extent, we've never seen it before.
Yeah.
We've never seen the level of loneliness. In addition to we live alone, a lot of us are working alone. You're working from that. There's a loneliness that comes from being around a lot of people, but none of them are your people.
Yes.
So when you go to an airport, you should think we're all doing the same thing. Why aren't we bonded by it? But you're not. You're all alone in it.
Right.
And I think of that as, it would be less like that if you went to a concert, because at least you all like the same music. You're looking in the same direction.
Right.
But I think of, we were riding a motorcycle for a charity benefit, and you go with hundreds of people, and the cops move all of the lights so that no one's stopping, and you're just going through these destinations. And you're all sort of moving together like a flock of birds or like a school of fish, where you're all kind of close to each other. No one's communicating out loud about what to do, but you're all doing the same thing in a harmony. There is something so freakily connected in that
Yes.
makes you feel almost euphoric.
Well,
I get it
right.
at concerts. I get
That's
it
why
in
I was
certain
just saying.
environments.
That's why I was saying, like, people. It's why I said it a long time ago. It's like when you go to a baseball game or you go somewhere and they sing the national anthem. You can't help but to see people emotionally respond and feel that sense of, it's like you can that sense of pride, that sense of loyalty, that sense of connection, and it gives you goosebumps. So we are receiving information that just happens to be on a higher scale. But that's what I've been saying. When you're aligned with the right people and everybody wants to operate on a higher vibration, that is what life is like.
Right. But if you don't have the ability to do that, you have to change your support system.
Yes. Yes.
And then you're like, I have no support system. You
Well,
could say my support system does nothing but cut me off at the knees and bring me down. They're constantly telling me how disappointed they are in me. They're constantly never impressed by anything I do. They're constantly at the dinner table. Like, I'm thinking about, say, specifically children in family environments where it's like you're 5 people just born into this group.
Yes.
Right? What really connects you? There should be this huge connection that you have this shared experience. But sometimes it isn't. And if you don't have a great support system, so if you started out from a family structure where you did not feel supported, then you think you have to do it yourself. We kind of talked about it with Nick last week about the resilience trap. I can only rely on myself. If you're an adult, young adults, older adults, you've been through a divorce, whatever, something changes in your circumstances, and now you find yourself without a really good support system.
Well, you definitely need to find a new support system, but it's hard to go out and,
But you can buy support systems. And I'll say this. You can join, and don't join a yoga studio. Visit 10 yoga studios until you find one where you feel comfortable. You could join a gym. There are coffee shop, like public area spaces,
book
the library,
clubs.
book clubs.
Actually, they have I don't even know if they
flower
still have it,
arranging
but they have a
classes.
meetup. There was an app called a Meetup. Years ago, one of my patients was telling me that she's in her 60s, late 60s, early 70s, and she's like, I'm just lonely. Like, I lost my spouse like 5 years ago. I don't really want to date, but some of my friends have moved and some of them have passed on, and she's like, I want to meet new people. I want to be out. So it's actually for you. She said, you put in your age group, what you're looking to do. Like if you like bowling or you like gardening and all this. And so they kind of line you up with people. So it's like a dating app, but for friends.
Yes, that's a great idea.
And there's groups. And she's like, oh my God, I've met some great people. And then she's like, 15 of us are going over here and we're going out to lunch and doing these things. So there are different opportunities to meet.
And I think of, if you like motorcycles, you can go to Harley Davidson on
volunteer
Saturdays.
Somewhere. You like pets? Volunteer to, a shelter.
Yeah, but loneliness should come home with a bunch of cats.
Yes.
And dogs, which
Yes.
might be fine, might end your loneliness.
So I was looking for something, and I went back in the first notebooks. It's how to raise your vibration. And this is kind of all the stuff that we're talking about. Practice self-care, yoga, nature, journaling, a bath, exercise, things to get your body moving, nourish your body. Heavy foods can lower your energy, so nourishing your body with plenty of water, exercise, the right kinds of food. Find what feels good for you and do it. Focus daily on what makes you feel good. Meditate. Cut out low vibration people, places, and things. I have that one. But I also have that you can't have the law of attraction without the law of vibration. So you say you want a better life. Like how I see that is you want a better life and you want something different. Well, if you're not in that mindset to attract it, you won't attract it. Like it finds
Or it will come to you and it just won't stay.
Well, alignment over assignment. So if you are constantly in a bad mood and you're constantly stressed out, guess what you're going to attract? You're going to attract more problems, more stresses, more, what you focus on comes about, and it truly does. To me, I think that's why. Yeah.
So the thing about Johann Hari says the chemical if you take a rat, you put it in a cage, and you give it 2 water bottles, and you let it ingest either heroin or cocaine, the rats will always prefer drugged water. You put heroin or cocaine in one and water in another. A lonely rat will always choose cocaine. Rats are not solitary creatures.
Wow.
So they learned that if they put multiple rats in a big enough cage, because rats also don't want to be resource bound by not enough space, and then with other creatures gave them heroin, cocaine water with their preference, or regular water. Once they were not alone, they didn't choose the drug.
Wow.
So back to what I was trying to explain for him before is we think there is the chemical component to getting addicted by drugs, but there is also some emotional component. So the reason why those AA groups and all of that works well as a strategy over time is it's giving you a community.
Yes.
Of people who...
It's giving you a support system.
It's giving you a support system that you didn't previously have. And they're not the support system that doesn't understand. They're the support system exactly like you to understand.
But there's all kinds of support for grieving widows, losses of lost children.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of support groups out there. And a lot of people, some people are like, I don't want to do that. I don't need that. Like you heard it. Like, I feel like
when
people are more reluctant to like, oh, I don't want to be, I don't want to go listen to everybody's depressing story or, but to me, that's like you're resistant because you're not willing to.
But one of the things I do when I'm not doing well is I hide because I don't want to inflict my mood on anyone else. Like I know when I'm being like, ugh.
Yeah.
I do not even want to listen to myself.
I do that too. But then I try to go find something to do that makes me feel good. Like I'll go shopping or even just to go walking around the retail store, like somewhere. Just it's where I have to focus on something else. If I'm not listening to, like if I listen to an audio or I listen to music and it's not working or, I love shopping. So sometimes it's fun to walk around and look at what could be.
But when I'm not in a good space, I impulse buy because I'm thinking that'll make me feel better. So I have put myself on a buying freeze since December. And I stopped the shampoos that were coming online. I stopped Amazon Prime. I stopped everything.
You just did a deep dive clean.
I have not been shopping. I have not.
I know.
And at first, I will tell you, it was almost an addiction to... Well, I could ease off that feeling by shopping.
Yes.
And of course I have to food shop and buy toothpaste and stuff like that. But that's never exciting shopping.
Right.
That's always begrudged. Why do I have to spend $400 at Walgreens? I want to spend $400 on an outfit and shoes.
I'm trying to think, how many aisles can I skip when I go to Market Basket?
Yes.
Like, how many do I have to go down? Yeah, I get it.
And so, but part of me not feeling well, I lose impulse. That impulse of, oh, I'll just buy this thing. Well, wait a minute. Do you need that thing? Do you even really want that thing? Or are you trying to cope with a feeling? And so this little hiatus, and then we can talk about the event we're going to do at Baubles and Lace next week, because I think I'll have to be
shopping.
But I'm limiting myself to like, I don't need anything new. I have plenty of summer clothes.
Someone's got to woo me. Like, this needs to come home with me.
Yes. But we are doing a live event. Speaking of loneliness and anti-loneliness, we have invited a number of people. We're inviting everyone who listens to this radio show, or if you watch it in your local somehow. It's Baubles and Lace, which is a small chain that's individually owned in Portsmouth, and they style you. So there's a woman in there who's literally like a trained stylist. So you go and you try some things on and you're like, nah, this isn't for me. She comes over with a belt and all of a sudden.
But I think that's just Emily. I don't think that that's your whole experience for the store or for other stores.
I think they all hire stylists.
Oh,
actually.
really?
I do.
Oh,
I
did
could
not
be
know
wrong.
that.
I could be wrong.
I didn't know that
But
because I thought
Emily
that was
is
just
like-
Emily's personality.
She's an amazing stylist.
Yes.
She actually is she knows how to put together an outfit or what would make something look better. And then once you try on a couple of things, she figures out what
And
looks
she
good.
knows your body type too. And it's just a fun night. So we're going to have some champagne. I think we're going to have some appetizers. We're going to do a live show there. We're going to try on we're going to be silly and we're going to be girls. Try on some new outfits. I just saw that they're dropping a new spring collection.
And that's why she wanted to time it with
Yeah.
next Thursday. So next Thursday is the
15th.
15th from 5 to 8. And then we are going to shut down the shopping piece of it to do a live show because we have been trying to get her on the radio. She has a very interesting story about how she came into the profession that she came into. She also is the mother of small children. So she's a working mom, and she's also gone back out into the dating world. And her stories are funny.
And she's an entrepreneur. Yes, yes, yes.
So she was willing to do the show, but she works Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we needed to somehow coordinate.
So if you're in Portsmouth next Thursday, the 15th, between 5 and 8, come by, say hi at Baubles and Lace, have some champagne, try on some dresses, and you might get to be able to be part of a live podcast.
Yes. And if you're a gentleman who listens and you have any female in your life, daughter, wife, mom, sister, there's jewelry. You don't have to buy something that, this person would have to try on, but you could, bring them a little treat. You could stop by and see us because I don't want it doesn't have to be ladies only. I know many guys who do like John picks out clothes for me all the time.
Yes.
So if it's
and we will actually help you if you want to pick out clothes for your wife. So guys and girls are very, very welcome.
Yes, we want everyone to show up. This is going to be hopefully the first of many.
Yes.
So we're going to work out the kinks on the first one, and then we're going to see how it gets recepted and how we can do them better in the future. But this one should be really fun only because Emily's so much fun.
Yes.
And the type of event
It's
we're
good
doing
chemistry.
is really fun.
Good chemistry together.
And then you can cure some of your loneliness if you're lonely at all. And I do think,
And you can come laugh with us.
yeah, come laugh, have a good time. You actually, no purchase is required. You're not required to purchase anything if you go. And she is a no pressure salesperson.
Yes.
But there's definitely some cute stuff in there.
Yes, yes, yes. I don't really actually know what I'm going to wear. I was thinking about wearing my denim dress, but the long one.
Yes, that would look great.
I just don't know how comfortable it is to be
In a tube sock. Is that what you called it, your denim tube sock?
Yes. my denim compression sock.
So I have to do yoga so that I can put on my compression socks. I didn't know compression socks was going to be such a difficult thing, but
Those things are tight.
you got to be pretty flexible to worm yourself into them
Yes.
too, like get yourself in a position.
I feel like I have ski socks that are like that, and I'm like, I always avoid them. I always
Yes.
don't them at all costs. I'm like, nah.
yeah.
I want to be thin and fit, no wrinkly, but I don't want them tight either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ever since I was like in my 30s, like I don't like tight stuff. I don't like it like feeling tight on my waist in a certain place. I don't like.
Well, it's also the uncomfortableness
ankle.
of if something's too tight, you feel like it doesn't fit properly, or it's putting your clothing. Back in the day when we used to make our own clothes, we would make them to our body.
Yes.
So they didn't slip off our shoulders or crimp.
They fit you in the waistline right, or they didn't,
They-
hang below your
They
feet.
fit your length
Yeah.
in your width, And there's something about when a piece of clothing fits properly, it's like a second skin, and then it's invisible to your mental psyche.
So do you think that you've ever worn a bra that feels like a second skin?
No.
Oh, yeah. I hate them.
Yeah, but I have found ones that work better than others, but then if they lose their elastic at all, then it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Boing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So undergarments is hard, but
I just think we don't wear them.
right.
I mean, if they are still making, they're making bras that show the nipple anyway, but I mean, I get it if you.
Well, some people need support.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to retract that. But
You have to retract that because I don't want to see
I have to say, I have spent a lot of money on bras. all kinds of different ones, and I hate the fact that you have to buy it in order to like get in it and try it.
There's that place in Bedford that you get to try them on.
I know, but I always feel like, oh, I'm going to try a different brand. I'm going to try a different label. I'm going to try a different this. I'm going to try a different that, because none of them ever fit your body right.
So,
Because when they feel good, then it's riding way up the back up here, and then
Yeah.
it's like, wow, it looks like it's on my, whatever those bones
my
are.
neck.
Yes.
Get the bra top
I'm
on.
wearing a backpack, it's or then it's gappy right here. It's it's gaps on the side, or like the band underneath is just too tight. I literally was driving in, I think it was last week, was driving in, and I'm like, I don't feel like, maybe it's my mind, but I feel like I'm wearing a corset. I'm having a hard time taking a deep breath.
Yeah.
I think it's just because I haven't worn it and it's tight, and I don't like anything tight on my rib cage.
Yeah, because then you can't fully expand and breathe.
Yes. And so I feel like I'm caged.
Yeah. Well, they have those ones that almost, they're like,
Yes, it's that really thin.
it's almost like a t-shirt that's shaped in a bra. Did you see that one? I
was
get it on my
thinking about the
Instagram. I'll send it
material.
to you.
I was thinking about the material part of it.
And there's no like cup per se. It's almost like a sports bra
Yeah.
with the marriage of a
Yeah.
regular bra.
But then they just look all granny, They don't.
I know.
They just look like, But I don't, I don't care. It's not really me. Anyway. It's like, I don't think he'd care either, but having a good bra definitely has a lot to do with your mental health.
It does. Well, when you don't feel good in your own skin,
Yes.
it plays a huge role. It takes up mental energy that could be used for anything else.
Yes. So a challenge that we're going to give you is try one thing this week, to do one thing different each day, to love yourself, to be better, to improve your mindset, habit, exercise,
Eat better food.
mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
One thing. Pick one thing.
And then join us next Thursday for Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. Please like us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next Thursday, have a fantastic weekend.
WSMN 15.